الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله الأعظم روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. The discussion is Islamic knowledge. What is Islamic knowledge? And that's the discussion we're having, because when we say that we want to learn Islamic knowledge or whatever we are doing, let's say in Sunday schools and this and that, what knowledge is it that we're learning? And obviously it's Islamic knowledge, but what is Islamic knowledge? Where does it come from? What is it about? If you don't know what that knowledge is, then a lot of times we learn and you see that the knowledge is messed up in our mind. Meaning like it has pockets of information everywhere and it's not clear for us. That's why a lot of people have confusion in understanding things, because they heard a lot of speeches, they read a lot of books, so now their knowledge is like all over the place. And for that to become clear, they need to defrag their hard drive and to put that knowledge together and categorize it correctly for that knowledge to be used correctly. And so we need to first understand, what is this Islamic knowledge? Now, Islamic knowledge is knowledge that Allah has revealed. Right? It's knowledge that Allah has revealed. Now, the first things, let's go over some things now, right? Does Allah have to reveal anything for us? Is it incumbent on Allah that He has to reveal knowledge? Think about it. Does Allah have to reveal knowledge to us? Is it wajib on Allah? And the answer to that is no. It's not wajib on Allah. Allah doesn't need to do anything. Right? He doesn't need to do anything, because the issue is that we came to the earth by our choice. We came to the earth by our choice. This is where we need to understand this. Allah says in Surah Ahzab, ayat number 72, 33, 72. إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ أَمَانَةً عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ. We have offered our amanat to the heavens, the mountains, and creatures. We offered our amanat, our trust. And فَأَبَيْنَا أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا. They refused to accept it. They said, it's too much for us. We can't do it. We are unable to do it. Read the ayat. We are unable to do it, they said. فَأَبَيْنَا, they refused it. Allah, we can't do it. فَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ. Insan accepted it. Mankind accepted it. Right? Now, he accepted it, and Allah says, إِنَّهُ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. And they accepted it because they are ignorant. They're foolish and they're ignorant. And they accepted it. They accepted something that really is very hard for them. Very difficult, but they jumped to it. Yes, Allah will do it. Right? Now, obviously we don't remember that, right? We don't remember that. But when Allah is saying it, it happened. It happened. And that's why we know the truth. Truth is that Allah offered it, and we accepted it. And this is what Allah is saying in the Quran. And Allah is saying, إِنَّهُ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. They are ignorant, and they did injustice to themselves, meaning that they took upon something that they cannot do. So it's like this. For example, you have a task at home. Let's say you want to build a shelf. And you have children, and one of your sons says, you know what, I'm going to do it. So you're like, okay, you want to do that? Yes, I want to do it, So he runs up, and he starts doing it. Now, he took the task to do it, and you are his father. Now, since he took the task and he said, I'm going to do it, now, if you know that it's too difficult for him and you will help him, is this helping him necessary for you? Or is it out of your kindness that you're helping him? Because you understand that he took a task that's too much for him. He took upon something that he's unable to do, so I need to help them out. Because Allah cares. Allah cares. He's not doing it because wajib on, nothing is wajib on Allah. He said, okay, you took the task, go ahead, do it. Now what that task is and all that, that's a whole different discussion, which might come up later, right, in our next speeches. But right now, the idea is to understand is that we have this task. This task is there, and this knowledge that Allah is giving us is only out of His kindness. He says, okay, here, let me give you this knowledge to help you out right now. Now, certain things become necessary for that. What kind of knowledge is this? Why does Allah, He reveal this knowledge? Out of His kindness. Now, is Allah a storyteller? Is Allah telling stories in the Quran? Is the Quran a story book? What is the knowledge of the Quran? Is it a story book? You see, like for example, the Bible, what it is right now, it's not Injil. Don't call it Injil. It's not Injil. Bible, right, is different than Injil, right? And the Christians say it is the greatest story ever told. I don't say that. The Christians say that, right? So it is a story. It's not a book of knowledge or science. It's just a story. The greatest story ever told, and that's how they and themselves saying this. And it is a story because it's written by people. It's not revealed by Allah. When Allah says Injil, one of the things you need to understand about Injil is that Allah says Allah revealed Injil to Isa. And Isa gave it to the people. It wasn't written by disciples. It wasn't written by other people. It was a book that was given to Isa. Jesus got the book from there. Go ahead. You want to ask a question?
I have a few questions, but I will ask you a few.
Yeah, no problem, anytime. Yes, brother. No, it wasn't written by Jesus. You have the book of Mark, the Gospels, or the book of Injil? Yes, Allah says that. He revealed it to Isa. No, it wasn't written. It wasn't written. Right? And even if it was written, it was rejected. Right? It was never accepted. So it says that that book of Isa is now with our Imam. Right? Just like all the other books are with our Imam. The book right now, what you know as the Bible, which the heart of it is the Gospels is written by disciples, not by Jesus or anyone. In fact, it was written like generations after Hazrat Isa. Right? Generations after that, it was written by these people. Right? So now, when you look at that, and when you see that, Quran is not that. If you look at the Quran, even though Quran has stories, you will see it has stories. Like, for example, the story of Dhul Qarnayn. This is one of those things that you're like wondering, where did story come from? Dhul Qarnayn. Right? And this and that. And Allah did not say this out of Himself. He did not mention these stories out of Himself. Like Surah Kahf. If you see, it's all stories in Surah Kahf. Right? There's Ashab Kahf, there's, Dhul Qarnayn, and there's Musa and Khidr. 3 stories make up Surah Kahf. Now the Surah Kahf was revealed because the Jews and the scholars of Jews came forward and challenged the Prophet or asked him these questions. Tell us about Dhul Qarnayn. If you are really the Prophet, you would know him. So they challenged the Prophet, and Allah revealed the story of Dhul Qarnayn because of their challenge. It was mentioned because of that. The whole Surah Kahf has been revealed in reply to what the Jews asked the Prophet. And they challenged him because Dhul-Qarnayn, or in other words, Cyrus the Great, right? Cyrus the Great in our, yes, Kurosh, right? He's very important to the Jews because he is the first one to give, help them out of the bondage that they were in, right? And he helped them a lot. So, in other words, they have a lot of respect for him. So they wanted to ask the Prophet, if you are really the Prophet, only we know about it because he's mentioned in our books. We know about it, So you tell us. So that's why Allah then tells these stories in the Quran. But the Quran is not meant for stories. It's not a story book. The knowledge that Allah is revealing inside it, what is it for? Yes.
Since you gave a permission to ask questions.
Yes, go on.
Where does it say in Quran that we are born with our own choice? What choice did we
Allah says that in the Quran. The ayat I gave you, 33, 72. Right, yes. Yeah, you write that?
I wrote it.
Yeah, write it down and you go that, Innal arda amanata ala samawati wal ardi wal jibal. We offered our amanat to the mountains, all of creation, in other words. Allah says that. فَأَبَيْنَا أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا. That they refused to accept it. فَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ. Insan accepted it.
By insan, it means Hazrat Adam?
No, all of us.
The whole insan.
Yes, we were there before, And obviously Allah doesn't make us remember that. Otherwise, then there won't be a test here, and that's where we come to the Islamic knowledge part. We're going to come there, right? If Allah made us remember everything, then we would know, right? And then there won't be a testing for us then. There won't be a place for us to have choice. The reason we have choice here is because Allah is hiding that. He revealed it to us so that we understand it. Otherwise, if He didn't say that in the Quran, we would never know, right? We would never know that. Only because He mentions it, we know it. And why is He giving us this knowledge? Because out of His kindness, that He's helping us. He's helping us. Because that is the amanat. Amanat is the choice, the free will. And that is what's difficult, you see? So now, where is Islamic knowledge? And that's our discussion. I'm coming to that, right? But I want to give this introduction so you understand what knowledge is Allah revealing. So, not every knowledge is useful. Like information, knowledge, this and that, not every knowledge is useful. There was a discussion in the masjid of Rasulullah. A man who was an expert in genes and ancestry came, and the companions surrounded him, and he was lecturing to them in the masjid. He was talking, and these people were enchanted by him. He was talking about ancestry, how to recognize genes, and those type of things. And these people were like, wow, The Prophet came, and he heard that, and he just wanted to see what's going on here. Why are these people so enchanted by this guy? So he came there and sat in the gathering, in the majlis. He sat there, and after a few minutes, he got to know what's being talked about. What's being talked about, and then he stood up and protested right away. He says, woe unto you all. What is this that you are teaching? What is this that you're occupying your time with? This is useless knowledge. This knowledge is useless. And he gave the principle why. He says, knowing it will not help you, and not knowing it will not harm you. Any knowledge where, for example, if you know it, it's not helping you, and if you don't know it, it's not harming you, is a useless knowledge. That's the principle he gave. So obviously Allah is not going to reveal such knowledge to us. Right? First, Allah will not reveal such knowledge because Allah doesn't do vain things like that. For example, who's the richest man in the world and how much money does he have? How is that helping me? And if I don't know it, is it harming me? Or, for example, the top 10 lists, of whatever, the top 10 movies, or the top 10 whatever, you have these lists, This is like what? If you know it, is it helping you? No. And if you don't know it, is it harming you? No. Then why are you wasting your brain cells on that? Allah will not reveal such things. Won't send such things, right? This is a useless knowledge. The knowledge Allah reveals is something that is useful for us. Something that has to be useful for us. In what regard? Send a salawats.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Last week I mentioned this, that, things that we are able to figure out ourselves, Allah does not reveal those things to us. Allah doesn't need to. For example, I will get to know how human physiology works. I can do it myself. I can cut open a human being and learn it myself. And that's what we human beings did. Did Allah reveal an ayat that says, okay, let me teach you these things? No. Or about chemistry. These are knowledges that we can figure out ourselves by observation and learning. Sciences. All of these knowledges are what? These are knowledges that we can figure out ourselves. So Allah doesn't need to reveal that. That's not called Islamic knowledge. A lot of people say, all knowledge is Islamic knowledge. No, it's not. That's not Islamic knowledge. Biology is not Islamic knowledge. Chemistry is not Islamic knowledge. Right? Why? Because Islamic knowledge is knowledge that if you don't know it, it's going to destroy you. And if you know it, then it is necessary for you. Meaning, if you know this knowledge, knowing it is necessary. And if you don't know it, it's harmful, dangerous, destructive. So is biology like that? That if we don't know biology, are we going to get destroyed? No. If I don't know chemistry, if we all didn't know chemistry, are we going to be destroyed? We can't live our life and do what we are supposed to do here. There was a time when there was no chemistry or biology or any of these sciences. So what is all of this? Think about it. Yes?
Historically, it's proven that it increases your age because of the knowledge of biology and knowledge of safety and knowledge of chemicals.
Very good. So now, for example, if you will live to the age of 100, or if you live to the age of 40, will that make a difference? Think about it. All the people who die young, what, they haven't lived their life? You see, living here, how much is not important. It's not important. You can live here for 5 years. You can live here for 25 years. It doesn't matter. It's about what you did in that time. That's what's important. In that time that was given to you. Some people, right now, they die early. How many people die early now? Whatever their reason is, they die early, right? A lot of people die early. So what happened to them? They don't get all the things. Oh, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. It's about what you did in that time. So it really doesn't matter to us how long you live for. So all of these things, right, will give us understanding about creation and then the Creator, right? The Creator. It gives us understanding of that. But not ourselves. There has to be a knowledge that if we don't know that, it will destroy us. What is that subject? What is that knowledge about? That's one. The first aspect of that knowledge should be that it cannot be learned by us. That we cannot figure it out. That it should have that quality. What is that knowledge that we cannot figure out ourselves? Because all the other sciences and all the other knowledges that we have, we can figure it out, right? What is that one knowledge that we are unable to figure out? Number one. Number two, the second quality that knowledge should have is that it should be so important that you can't experiment. You can't do trial and error. Meaning it's too important to do trial and error. You know? What is that knowledge? So this is where we come to Islamic knowledge. What is the subject of Islamic knowledge? What is the subject that Allah revealed the whole Quran, sent the prophets, and all of these things for? What are we learning about? What is the subject that Allah wants to teach us that we cannot learn by ourselves? Now, friends, the knowledge, the subject of Islamic knowledge is us. We are the subject, ourselves. Ourselves. We can learn about anything outside of ourselves, but we cannot learn about ourselves. And we are too important to experiment on. We are too important that we can just do trial and error. Well, let's try this for a few generations and see how it works. If we were not that important that we can do a trial and error, yes, then we can let go of generations. Let them die. We're learning. Well, we can't experiment on ourselves. Each and every human being is important. They are precious. That's why there's no time for experiments, and there's no way that we can do this. The subject of Islamic knowledge that Allah revealed in the Quran is us. The one thing we can't learn about is myself, us, my relationship with Allah, my relationship with my people, my family, my friends. I need to know that I can't experiment with that. My growth, my development, I can't experiment with that. Allah, if I'm going to experiment, I'll be destroyed. I will harm myself. I need knowledge about myself. So all of this Islamic knowledge that we're learning, and from Sunday school all the way up to Hausa, is about us. Me. Remember my teacher, Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi, he said that, as a statement, he said that man has learned to fly to the moon, but he hasn't learned how to walk on the earth yet. He hasn't learned how to live with each other on the earth yet. And he's proud that, we went to the moon. What's the use of going to the moon? First, let's start living on earth together. Why are we not able to do that? Because we're experimenting. We're trying these things out, new theories, new ideas. Here is where Allah needs to come in and give knowledge. To tell us this is the way it should be done. That's the way it should be done. So that we don't experiment on ourselves and destroy ourselves. All of Islamic knowledge is that. Certain things in this knowledge are so important that it will destroy us. So Allah labeled it as wajib and haram. He says these are so detrimental that they will destroy you. Some things are okay, they will harm you, but not destroy you. Like mustahab and makruh. And some things are okay, but even there, you need to use your wisdom and aql. That is mubah. You see, all of this, he just put it in these 5 categories. And he taught that to us. So the subject of Islamic knowledge is us. That we cannot learn by ourselves. Because this subject is too important to experiment with and go through trial and error. That's why it says, Talabul ilm faridatun ala kulli muslimin wa muslima. Learning knowledge is incumbent on every Muslim man and woman. Why? Because this is the knowledge they need. Not about science and all these things, These are like entertainment. All of these are entertainment for us, something we have fun with. If we don't know them, it's all fine. But the knowledge we need to know is about ourselves and how we are in relationship with our Creator and how we are in relationship with ourselves and our other people who are around us. I need to know that. That's more important than anything else. And that's where Allah sent these Qur'an, sent the prophets sacrificed, and the Imam sacrificed. Karbala happened in order that Allah can teach us about us. About how and who, what. Allah sent Imams so that you need an Imam. You need an Imam for your survival, for your well-being, for not being destroyed. So all of these things, usul ad-din, are what? That if we do not, attach ourselves and live ourselves according to that, we are finished. It will be destructive. Our ruh will be destroyed. So all of these things is about us, my friends. And that's what Islamic knowledge is. Inshallah, next week I will go through more details and we'll start the discussion. As an introduction, I was giving you these things so that you know what we are discussing. When you say Islamic knowledge, what is the subject behind it? What is Allah revealing in these ayat? What are the Imams saying? What is their seerat and sunnat for? Is to teach us how to have a relationship with Allah, how to have a relationship with ourselves. All of these relationships that we have. I will end over here. If you all have any questions, go ahead. Yes, brother.
So to summarize, you said the difference between that knowledge and the knowledge we have is that you're not experienced, right? Happens, and also the subject is lost, right? And that's a knowledge that if you don't know it, it's going to destroy us, right? Can I add one more thing to that?
Go ahead.
That knowledge is flawless. And because all the other knowledges, anything we know, all the knowledge has a lot of flaws, a
Right.
lot of mistakes. This is a good drug for certain people, and it may kill other type of people. I don't know, maybe. And it's a lot of flaws.
Yeah, it's experiment, in other words. It's an experiment. Any theory is an experiment. Let me put this out there.
For certain time or
Exactly. Let me put this out there, Well, okay, what is it for? And what is the subject of that? For example, I just had a discussion on my trip with an atheist, and the atheist was like, trying to talk about, he was born a Muslim, but now he's an atheist, so he was like talking about science, and how we are very close to knowing the meaning of life. I said, really? How about all the people who died already? So they're all dead without knowing the meaning of life. That's such a waste. Really, is that your idea? All right? Too bad for us, By the time we know it, I'll be dead. That's disgusting. That's a horrible thing. What are you talking about? The meaning of life should be known before we came here. What's the use of living a life without knowing the meaning of life? So is that what your science is teaching you? So what happened is that these people, they are like really experimenting with human beings. And human beings are too important and too precious to be experimented on. They're not like mouse in a lab, where you experiment on a mouse. Like that, Allah says He gave the stars and the skies and all these things as what? As zinat for us, as an ornament so that we can enjoy it. It's not something necessary. It's not something like, wow, I need it, otherwise, we would die without it. No, it has nothing to do with that. Yes, if I learn it, I will see how the Creator has created this. And I can appreciate the Creator, that's different. But it's not necessary. If you don't know it, it doesn't mean that you cannot become a mu'min and a better human being. See, and that's the thing that we all need to know. When we are here in this masjid, in the center to learn Islam, what are we learning? We're learning about ourselves. What do we learn about Imam Hussein for? Come on, we learn about Imam Hussein to learn about ourselves. Right? Man arafa nafsahu, arafa rabbahu. Whoever knows himself knows Allah, knows the Imam. And because, we don't know ourselves, we don't know the Imam. Yes, we know their names, but we don't know the relationship that Imam Hussein has to us. He's like the blood in the body. If you don't have blood, you're dead. He's like that. So do we know that? Do we live according to that? The more we know about ourselves. And that's what Allah wants to help us in. All of these ayat, hadith, all the imams in that just come to teach us, listen, this is what you learn. Pay attention to that. Then you will see differently. Everything is different. Yeah. Any other question? Next week, inshallah, we will go into the more nitty-gritty of these things. Subjects, as I said, right, these are like necessary things for us to learn. And they're not easy also. They're not easy on the mind. You need to give some effort to thinking about it and to working on it, because this is, as I said, necessary for us. Allah revealed this knowledge. It's necessary for us to learn it, and it has been made wajib on us to learn this. So inshallah, let's do that and spread this so that others can also learn. I think that's it. We will end over here. Thank you so much. May Allah bless you all. Salawat.